That last One Piece chapter, right? Right? That's like I'm in a comedy routine up here. That last One Piece chapter, right? Am I right? Okay. A lot of stuff going on there. I would hesitate to say the brutal decapitation of Orochi by Kaido is the number one thing on everybody's mind. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe that's like the one thing. It certainly took a lot of people by surprise, because I think a lot of people figured that Orochi was going to get decapitated at some point. I mean, come on, that was already a foregone conclusion, alright? Whether it be Zoro, Kinemon, Momo, Hiyori, Denjiro, Kaido in this instance, whoever. It could have been some random person, freaking Gin from Don Krieg's crew could have came back and sliced his head off. He's like, yeah, fine, whatever. Sure, cool, it fits. But I don't think anyone expected it like that, right? So I think the declaration that Kaido and Big Mom made, that they're gonna find the ancient weapons and the One Piece and take over the world, I think that's like the number one thing to take away from chapter 985. But the brutal decapitation of Orochi by Kaido, I think that's a close second, close number two. Kind of came out of left field there. There wasn't even any build up to it in the actual chapter. I mean, there kind of was. Like when Kaido walked out and he started going on and on about his master plan, you could kind of be queued up like, oh, okay, this is probably not going to involve Orochi at all. It seems like he's more of like taking the reins himself there. But, I mean, it would have been one thing if for like half of the chapter, Orochi was up there at the execution platform next to Momo, and he's like, I am Kurozumi Orochi, I rule all of Wano, we're going to execute Momo, who is the son of Odin, blah, 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 I am Orochi. And that just builds and builds and builds and builds for like half of the chapter, and everybody in the crowd is just kind of like, yeah, and then Kaido walks out all dramatically, and he grabs a sword and takes it out, just like, admire the mighty gleam of this blade. Look upon it, Orochi. Oh, that is a very impressive sword, Kaido. Well, you'll get really acquainted with it. Wano is under new management now. BAM! And then slices off freaking Orochi's head, and then that would have been a cool chapter. But no, it's literally how it goes is Kaido steps out and he's like, alright, listen up. We're getting the ancient weapons. Yeah! And we're gonna be, taking the One Piece. Yeah! And we're also gonna be ruling over all of Wano and turning it into a lawless land. And Orochi's like, yeah! Wait a second. Shing! And that's it. So we're going to be talking about a few things today. We're going to be talking about possible ways that Orochi could have survived. That's the big discussion right now. I'm following the belief that he's still alive. I don't think he's dead. But I've seen a lot of the comments, and there's quite a few people that do think he's legitimately gone. He's like, nope, it's a game over. Orochi's dead as a doornail. Devil Fruit isn't going to save him. Doesn't matter. He's dead. He's straight up dead. It's done. We're focusing on Kaido and Big Mom from now on, okay? So we're going to actually follow both of these. I actually am interested in exploring what it would be like the rest of the arc and the story if Orochi was just killed like right here and now, and then there's nothing more of him after this. How would that change the arc for people's expectations? Before we get into either of those discussions of him dying or surviving, I wanted to bring up something, and it's not going to play any sort of integral role in the story. I'm pretty sure it isn't. It's just something I'm genuinely curious about, and I'm just wondering, so you can weigh in the comments below if you care to. It's really not that important, but what kind of sword do you think Kaido used to slice down Orochi? Because the thing is, like, Kaido doesn't use a sword, he uses a kanabo, and when you're a giant dragon duck Oni god, you don't need a sword. You are the sword. You are the badass sword at that point. It's just like kind of putting a hat on a hat on a hat for Kaido to walk around using, this is my mighty Saijo Asamono, so did he just like pick it up from like a random dusty corner of Onigashima, like this old rusty blade, and it's not a Meito, it's not a ranked blade or anything, it's just lying around. He opened up his junk drawer and he's like, yeah, I guess this will work, whatever. Or did he walk out on the platform on the balcony and there's like a random pleasure or a waiter there, and he's like, you, waiter, what's your name? My name's Ted, Sir Kaido. Alright, Tim, let me see your sword. Okay, boss, here you go. And Kaido grabs it, and he's like, oh yeah, it's a nice sword you got here, a nice temper pattern. Shing! Alright, Tim, here you go. Okay, Sir Kaido, I will cherish this blade for all time now. Just some random blade. By the way, Tim and Ted are, Tim is my dad's name, Ted is my uncle's name, in case that you were curious on the origin of that. But no, just curious, because he just pulls out a sword and uses it to decapitate one of the main antagonists of this entire arc. Curious what the point of the sword was, right? If there any was one. Okay, so first, let's talk about if Orochi was straight up dead, alright? Because this actually solves a moral quandary, kind of, that I was waiting on to see on how Oda was going to tackle by the end of this arc. I guess a lot of people could also figure that Orochi, if he didn't die right here and now, he was going to die at some point during the battle, either through Zoro with his Enma, or Hiyori, or somebody else was going to get the kill shot on Orochi before the war ended. But part of me also was starting to think, like, okay, well, what if Orochi didn't die at the end of the war? What happens if we go through the whole battle at Onigashima? All of the calamities, the Sweet Commanders, Kaido, Big Mom, everybody's getting involved, and the entire time, Orochi goes and hides in like a little safety bunker or something, and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here in my hidey hole and everything will be good, you know? The Oniwabanshu get defeated, the Mimawari Gumi get defeated, all the strong samurai, and at the end of the war, when the dust settles, and the Straw Hats and the Samurai, they emerge, the Nine Red Scabbards, they all emerge victorious, they're beaten, they're bloody, you know, maybe Law is missing another arm, I don't know, but they emerge victorious, and like the fight is over, and then they find Orochi, just pitiful Orochi with no real power now, covered in just dust, and just like none of his followers are around anymore, and they're like, alright, well, what do we do with this guy? And they don't kill him right away, they throw him in the dungeon or whatever, they take him back to the Flower Capital, and then maybe when Momo or Hiyori, whoever becomes the next shogun, the rightful heir to the shogunate in Wano, when they attain that status, they're like, okay, Shogun Momo or Shogun Hiyori, what do you want to do with him? And the reason I say this is like a moral, ethical quandary is because the whole reason, I mean, not the whole reason, I mean, Orochi was horrible, you know, but then he was, like, led on by Semimaru and Higurashi. They also, you know, provided him with this backstory and everything, but this whole thing, the impetus kind of started when Orochi's grandfather, whose name we still don't know, by the way, tried to assassinate the daimyos, which was bad, and then he was executed in the traditional way in, like, Edo, Japan, and also in Wano, which, like, the seppuku, he was forced to commit the seppuku, but that also led to the mass persecution of all of the Kurozumis, which eventually led to Orochi being born in that kind of environment, and, you know, the other members of the Kurozumi clan, the Kurozumi fan club, join today! It's mandatory in Wano! But no, the other members of the clan, like Higurashi and Semimaru, they filled it in Orochi's head, like, it's your birthright to take over and everything like that. So Orochi's grandfather obviously did something horrible, attempting, well, actually, I think he did succeed in assassinating the other daimyo, so that was something really horrible, but the punishment for that was crazy overkill. That was like, okay, he did something bad, so we're gonna execute him, you know, force him to commit seppuku in, like, the public square, but beyond that, we're also, you know, taking every single member of his clan that's even related to him just in a branch family, like distant cousins of old granddaddy Orochi, and we're gonna, like, persecute them for centuries, to the point where, not centuries, but decades, to the point where it was like the Kurozumi hunt, or whatever. Like, you see a member of the Kurozumi clan, it's like your duty as a member of the Kozukis, as a retainer of them, to, like, slice them down in the street. Like, that's how brutal it was, okay? So, it's like, do you want to do the same kind of thing, like continuing that cycle of violence, that vicious circle? Because, you know, all of the horrible things Orochi's done, at the end of the arc, if he's still alive, you would want to, like, him be dragged in the public square, and Momo's up there and be like, you know, we're gonna torture you in the most horrible ways possible, and then we're gonna slowly slice off your head. You know, it would be like something crazy like that, from all the stuff that he's done, to the people in the, not even just the things that he's done to Wano, like the land with, like, all the different, the weapon factories and just polluting the land, all of the poverty he's wrought, but also just literally, you know, basically, I'm trying to think of a good way, like, thrusting disease on his people through the smiles. I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. Taking away their ability to feel, to cry or to feel sadness, you know? It's a weird description, you know, robbing their emotions from them. That's the best I got, you know? That's literally what Orochi did, right? So because of all those horrible things, you'd expect a horrible, brutal finish to him that's really satisfying, but wouldn't that just kind of perpetuate this cycle of violence? Orochi needs to be punished, absolutely. And what I said was in that, because he was just, let's say he was killed right away there by Kaido, that would kind of solve the problem, because it's like, okay, he's dead now. And it wasn't Momo or anybody on the samurai side that ended him, it was his own ally that ended him, what he thought was his own ally in Kaido that ended him. And so all we gotta do is finish off Kaido, who's already an outsider, and Big Mom, also an outsider, and then Momo or Hiyori will be able to rule over the country as the new Kozuki clan, shogunate is reinstated, and they'll be able to open up the country of Wano, and everything should be okay. I mean, the Marines and the world government could always get involved in that, and they probably will. But in terms of, like, the ethical quandary of, like, what do we do with Orochi? How do we punish him, We could just lock him up in a jail cell for the rest of his life, but he could always escape. And what happens if he does? And he also has a devil fruit. I guess we could chain him up with Sea Prism and just leave him there. Or we could kill him. But if we do that, then we might be restarting this whole cycle that it kind of began with, so how is this really gonna go? You know what I mean? So if Orochi is just straight up dead now, then that would solve that problem pretty much like that. So that's just one of the reasons, because I kind of want to see how Oda's going to handle that. I want to see him handle that, like, ethical quandary, and in his writing. And I think Oda could definitely handle it very well in a way that's, it makes the new Wano better than the old one, because even the Kozuki clan, when they were ruling over everything, it was obviously better than when the Kurozumis were ruling it over everything, but it still had some problems too. The fact that they closed off the country, it was so isolated, and nobody was allowed to leave, and also the problem of just, like, doing the Kurozumi hunting thing. That was also a bit of an overkill, right? So, yeah, I'm curious how Oda's going to handle this, and that's one of the reasons why I want Orochi to still be alive by the end of it, really. But okay, now let's talk about ways that Orochi could have survived. I foresee 3 possibilities here. The first one is the most likely, and this is the one that a lot of people latched onto right away, the fact that Orochi can turn into an 8-headed serpent, a Yamato no Orochi, and he has the Mythical Zoan, right? So it's like, okay, he can turn into an 8-headed serpent. Yes. One of his heads, right? Yes. Okay, so that means we have 7 heads left, ergo 7 more lives left, ergo he has to be decapitated 7 more times before he stays in the ground, okay? That's the basic idea there. The other 2 possibilities, less likely, but I just wanted to throw them out there. The first one, I guess the second one here, is that Kanjuro used his art ability, his brush fruit, or whatever you want to call it, to make an ink double of Orochi, and that was the thing that actually got sliced down. I don't think that's very likely, because Kanjuro already did that once, and I think as soon as the head gets decapitated, then it turns into ink. It stays, like, solid for a little bit, but then immediately transforms. Last time we saw Orochi's head get sliced off and hit the floor, and it didn't seem like it was turning into ink or anything like that, so I don't think that's the case there. And also, I don't see any reason why Orochi would have that made right away. I mean, maybe after, they told him, like, oh yeah, the samurai still survived and everything like that, after Kanjuro reported to him, maybe he freaked out and is like, Kanjuro, I want you to make a body double of me at once! But also, wouldn't Kaido have been there, and he would have known if Kanjuro did make the body double, because Orochi still trusted Kaido at this point, right? So I don't think that's very likely. And the other possibility, kind of a stretch here, even more of a stretch than the ink double, but looking at the way that, like, actual leaders and, like, shoguns and daimyos were back during the Edo period of Japan, and not just in Japan, but a lot of leaders throughout human history, body doubles. Body doubles were not completely uncommon. In fact, when you had a leader with a lot of political power that was afraid of being assassinated, which I'm sure Orochi is, because he's a very paranoid individual, you create a body double in some way. Now, this is One Piece, so you have more, maybe, like, ninjutsu capabilities. Like, ninjutsu is a thing. You can do, like, transformation jutsus and stuff in freaking One Piece here. We've seen this, okay? At least, well, maybe not transformation jutsus we've seen yet, but we've seen, like, ninjutsu abilities from Raizo that are probably not from a devil fruit, because other ninjas can do it too. So a transformation jutsu I don't think is completely out of the ballpark here in One Piece. But kind of the same deal. Like, wouldn't Kaido know about that? If Orochi wasn't the real Orochi, because Orochi still trusts Kaido right up until Kaido was announcing his new plans for Wano, or new Onigashima. So those are the possibilities on the table that I could see. Let me know if there's any more that you could possibly envision happening. But I'm gonna go with the devil fruit ability, the Yamato Yamato no Orochi. So here's the thing. I looked into this. There are a lot of multi-headed serpents in mythology, like a lot. There's, of course, the Hydra that Heracles sliced down in Greek myth. There's also a parallel to that in Roman myth as well. They kind of go hand in hand there. With the Hydra, you slice off one of the heads, 2 more pop out, and they just kind of keep replicating. What Heracles had to do was cartelize the wound so the head couldn't replicate, and then just slice off all the heads, and then it stayed dead. There was also the 7-headed serpent of Mesopotamia. That was around 3000 BC. Might have also have been the serpent, the great Leviathan in Jewish lore that fought against Baal, and you know, that kind of you know, that backstory there. The thing is, I'm looking back and doing research on like snakes, and some of them are so far removed, like the Yamato no Orochi of Japanese myth. That was kind of isolated from the rest of the world, so that's probably its own thing. But there's a lot of other myths involving in the Near East involving giant multi-headed snakes. So it could have been like there was one original giant multi-headed snake myth like way back, like thousands and thousands of years ago, and all the other ones after that are just kind of repackaging that. Because I've been looking into it, there's a lot of 7-headed serpents in the Near East, you know, that kind of region of the world in mythology. I've been noticing that. But then you have the 9-headed Hydra and the 8-headed Yamato no Orochi, right? So, the premise is out there. The premise is you have this multi-headed serpent, 7, 8, 9 heads, whatever. Why was 6 afraid of 7, by the way? Because 7, 8, 9. There you go. Yeah, that's the most basic joke I've probably told a million times. I think I learned it from Dexter's Lab in the 90s, but whatever. It's still a good one, okay? It's a classic. But no, it doesn't matter how many heads the damn thing has. The idea is if it has more than one, you gotta slice off all the heads. Some people have brought up that, well, wait a second here. Orochi was not in his Yamato no Orochi form when his head was sliced off. If that was the case, I could kind of see it. He has 8 heads in his serpent, you know, all slithering around. You're like, and then Kaido slices one head down. And he's like, all right, well, obviously there's 7 more. But he was in his human form. He wasn't even in the hybrid or anything like that. I think we've only seen the hybrid, I think, in silhouette before. I don't think we've ever seen him in his, like, actual hybrid form in the story. But that doesn't necessarily mean that his fruit's power does not take into effect just because he was in his human form at the time. Ergo, look at Marco. Marco has the power of the Phoenix fruit, so it's a mythical zone as well. He can turn into a Phoenix, but he also gets sort of like an extra kind of paramecia power on top of the zone power, the Flames of Rejuvenation, or the Flames of Revival. Marco is able to access those Flames of Revival in whatever state he's in, his hybrid form, human form, or his full Phoenix form. It doesn't matter. When he goes into his full Phoenix form, it kind of like covers his entire body, like his body itself is like made out of the flames. They're not. The whole idea is the second he gets hurt, the flames heal him, right? He's still like a physical bird with like feathers and a beak and everything like that. It's just he's surrounded with the flames. And once again, I don't think we've kind of seen his hybrid. We've seen Marco using like his talons for like changing his feet into the bird talons, but we've never seen him like in his full body, like hybrid form. But yeah, even when Marco was in his full human form at Sphinx Island, he was able to like summon, he's like, flame on, summon his flames of revival and heal like the Sphinx, Tama on the island, or the other townspeople that needed their help. So yeah, we don't get to see a lot of mythical zones in the story, so we don't have a lot of bases to go off on here. You know, Kaido might have a mythical zone, although even that's up for debate right now. Sengoku has one. We've never seen Sengoku use like his shockwaves when he's in his human form, but you know, given what we've seen with Marco, I think Sengoku would be able to do that. And in addition, if, you know, I'm sure that since he has a mythical zone, I'm sure Orochi has some extra ability with his Yamato no Orochi fruit. Whatever ability that was, he would also carry over to his human guys as well. Something I mentioned in the review that I wanted to correct was, I said in the review, maybe Orochi doesn't even know about the power. Like, that would be funny if he doesn't actually know he can come back to life, and then he gets his head cut off, and he's like, oh no, I'm dead! He's like, pop! I am alive! You know, like, and so that would be a funny scene, but it also kind of contradicts a little bit about, I think, what devil fruits are all about, because I think the whole idea is you eat a devil fruit and you're at least, you know the name of it immediately, and I think you know the basic abilities of the fruit immediately. So it doesn't explain, like, every little detail you can do with the fruit, but the basic nature of the fruit you understand as soon as you eat it, as well as the name. So in the case with Luffy, when he ate the Gamu Gamu no Mi, he knew it was called the Gamu Gamu no Mi, and his, oh, I'm a rubber man now, my body turned into rubber. But it also didn't give him the knowledge of, like, you can do gear 2nd, gear 3rd, gear 4th, you know, you can do all these other crazy stuff, you could do Snake Man, that stuff he had to work on. It's just the bare basics you get. So I'm wondering if, with mythical zones, because they give you the ability to turn into a mythical creature and an ability on top of that, I'm wondering if just eating the fruit, the basic line knowledge that you get when you eat it, that also kind of carries over to that. Like, oh, I can turn into a mighty Yamato no Orochi now! Oh, also, each head has its own individual life, so I have to die 8 times before I stay dead! Haha! I am Lord Orochi! You know, like, this will surely help me with the Kozuki clans! You know, right? So, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe that's another thing that he wouldn't know about. All he would know about eating the fruit is, I can turn into a multi-headed serpent now, and I get no more information from that. But regardless of whether or not Orochi did or did not know, I am damn sure that Kaido did not know. So Kaido probably right now genuinely thinks that Orochi is dead. And the reason why this can be very important, because let's say, you know, next chapter, Kaido just, like, freaking soccer balls, like, or footballs, you know, depending on what region of the world you're in, just kicks freaking Orochi's head off of the platform, off of the balcony, and his body as well. Just, it's like, get that piece of garbage out of here. Just push him over the edge, right? And his body falls. And if Orochi knows that he has, like, he's still alive, he's like, that damn Kaido, he sliced my head off. I have to use up a life for him. I thought he was my ally. This could be something kind of like in Attack on Titan, where in Attack on Titan, the Titan shifters, they can be injured, and, you know, their abilities with their Titan powers heal them, but they don't have to heal right away. They can choose whether or not they want to be healed or not, okay? So, like, for example, like in Attack on Titan, when Eren lost his leg, he, like, lopped off his own leg, he can choose to regrow the leg, like, right away. Or he could wait for a specific time and then have the leg grow back at his leisure, okay? As long as he has, like, the stamina to do it, right? With his Titan powers, right? So it might be something like that with Orochi, where Orochi right now is headless, but he's still conscious, he's still aware of what's going on, and the head is probably just a decapitated head. Like, the head is genuinely dead, okay? It's the body that's still alive, and Kaido's just, like, kicks the body off the side of the balcony, and it hits the ground, and Kaido's like, yeah, whatever, alright, I'm the leader now, man, get to work! And then everybody is just kind of like, ah! And then maybe a member of the Mimawari Gumi or Fuku Rokuju, a member of the Oniwabashu, he comes over to Orochi's, like, decapitated body, and he's like, Lord Orochi, what happened to you? And then maybe his head pops out, and he's like, pop! He's like, ah! He's like, calm down, Fuku Rokuju, get me somewhere safe. We have some planning to do. You know, something like that. How are you still alive? Don't worry about it. Let's see what we got. So, it might be something like that, where Orochi might be like, alright, we're not gonna let Kaido know that I'm still alive. We're gonna play this out and see where this goes. Alright, you know, and Fuku Rokuju so far seems to be, like, one of the most loyal members of Orochi's court. You know, even, like, because you could tell there's a lot of samurai that just do what he says because he's the shogun, but it seems Fuku Rokuju actually does, like, I am a loyal servant of Lord Orochi. I will carry out his will. So maybe it's him and Orochi, they go to, like, some room in the castle, like some storeroom where there's nobody around, and then Orochi explains to Fuku Rokuju, it's because of that fruit that old hag gave me all those years ago. I can regenerate my heads, but I didn't think Kaido would be the one to take one down. Damn it, we need to come up with a plan. And Orochi, he's not that great with plans. His plans are pretty straightforward, okay? So, but maybe Fuku Rokuju could come up with a plan, and then we have, like, we don't just have, like, Luffy and the other, like, scabbards and all the other, like, samurai, and then Kaido and Big Mom as the 2 factions. Now we have 3. Now we have Big Mom and Kaido, the samurai, the 9 Red Scabbards, the Straw Hats, the Heart Pirates, the Kid Pirates, and everybody. But then we have, like, this 3rd faction, Orochi, that might only include a few members, like the most elite members of Orochi's court, that are, like, lying low and, like, waiting for, like, here's the plan! We wait for Kaido to get beaten down by those damn rebels, by the, you know, the scabbards, and then we launch in and we attack him and we cut his head off and see how he likes it. You know, it might be a very straightforward plan, and it probably wouldn't work, but I'm just trying to think what Orochi would come up to here, because Orochi at this point is just like, I can't trust anybody, can I? Just me and you, Fuku Rokuju. Do not cut my head off! It's like, I won't cut your head off, Lord Orochi. Damn straight. Give me my protective neck brace. Orochi just puts on, like, this giant, like, you know, like 4 inches of solid steel just around his neck, and it's like, it's super heavy and he can't walk around. He's like, nobody could cut my neck off now. You know? I'm wondering also if that is how his fruit works. Would it also work if it wasn't his head? Would it work if, because snakes don't have limbs, they don't have arms, so if Orochi got his arm cut off, could he regrow an arm? Maybe he wouldn't be able to. Maybe it's just like Kaido was just like, he went for the head because you think that's the kill shot, and in most cases it usually is. But in this case it isn't. And so, yeah, maybe if he sliced off a leg or an arm, they wouldn't be able to regenerate. He would be able to come back to life, but only with the head. So, yeah, but it's okay, because like I said, even if they keep Orochi alive by the end of the arc, you could still kill him 6 more times. We could still have a Zoro kill, we could have a Hiyori and a Momo and a Denjiro kill, we could have a Luffy kill, why not throw it in there? Okay, we could have a Robin kill. Don't know why Robin would do that, but we could get one, you know, we could squeeze one in there, why not, right? And we can whittle down all of his lives, only he has 1 left, and then we drag him in front of Momo, and well, with a new Shogun, whoever that is, Momo or Hiyori. And we'll see where that goes from there, and that'll be the moral quandary that Oda, I hope, will address and see how he takes it. So yeah, anyway, yeah, that's my video on Orochi's power. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you checked out the thumbnail. Check out that sexy thumbnail. Man, I did not think I would be able to fit that much Orochi in a single thumbnail, but magnifique, I have to say. Right, Barry? Alright, well, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This will be Tekking101 signing out. What was up with that sword? Seriously. Probably a Saijo.